Tell me, Bill, a little bit about the fundraiser for Genesis Gardens that you did live, Facebook Live for the community, how that came about, how you decided to do that. That was the first virtual concert that I recall in the Macomb area. So, how did that happen
Right.
for you?
Well, once it sunk in that there would be no more, live, in-person live performances. It took a while for that to sink in, but once it did, and it became clear that there were certain needs within the community that were, becoming, um, it became very clear that there was heightened needs for certain, um, foods and other kinds of assistance with schools being out and Loaves and Fishes having to shut down from their regular operation. And Genesis Garden was stepping up to the plate in a big, big way to fill those gaps and call them need gaps that were really becoming very apparent. Um, and so I guess what I'm saying there is that there were two things going on. First of all, it was starting to sink in the new need gaps in the community caused by the coronavirus, and the realization that in this community how important human gatherings were, to hear music and others. And so I started thinking that maybe there would be a way to gather online, so to speak, um, for a good cause. And and I'm one of the least likely people to come up with that, that, to have come up with that in the first place because I'm not a techie at all. But I knew that Craig and Julia were at the wine cellars. And so I called him and we talked for a little bit. And he said, it's kind of funny, Bill, because we were, thinking a little bit along those lines ourselves, but hadn't really done anything about it. So that's really the way it started. And fortunately, as the word got out that this would be available, a different way of giving, during a concert online. And it was very successful for Genesis Garden, along with all the other fundraising that they did. Um, so that's kind of a long story, or short story made long, perhaps.
Well, Bill, when you think going back, I mean, you've been involved with music in Macomb for a good many years, going back to Macomb Unplugged and events at the old Bailey House and so on, where you've
Yeah.
brought together. And one thing I really admire about what you do is you bring together musicians from throughout the community and get people together to play music, and then, of course, many people to come watch it. Um, so, how um, how do you reflect on this experience in light of what you've done, bringing people together, musicians together, and the community get together around music for many years now?
Yeah. Well, it's a substitute. I'll have to say I think it's kind of a poor substitute for really people getting together in physical proximity and responding to, I think both for listener, for the audience, and for the performer, that kind of um, energy that goes back and forth between the performer and the audience is very much lacking in a virtual concert. But it's, I think the best opportunity we have. And and I think the timing of this was coming off an especially painful decision that had to be made. It really was made for us, but because in early April was going to be April 4th was going to be the date of a performance at the Macomb Arts Center called "When Soul Meets Country," and we had a number of African American musicians playing songs, country songs in their own style, and whatever style they chose to do. And we had worked a long time on that. We had some musicians coming in from out of state, others from out of Macomb, as well as the local Black community here in Macomb. Mount Calvary Church involved, and we'd worked for a long time on that, and all of a sudden it's not there. So that was really, I think that was taking that blow, and then the fact that all live music gatherings at all levels were pretty much verboten. I think that also perhaps led to a decision, well, we've got to have something. And so this is what we have now, and I think we ought to just celebrate it and support the causes and the musicians who are putting themselves out there, and hopefully it'll catch on and continue to find an audience. One of the other nice things about it is that Craig and Julia and the musicians, I think, are encouraging people during that time, that day, the Fridays that have the performances, to go out and support local restaurants and get something to eat. Maybe stop down at Craig and Julia's and get something to drink to take home, and put it on. Have a nice meal while you're watching the concert. And so it really works in a couple of different directions in terms of providing support within the community.